Matthew 8 and 16. When the even was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with devils, and he cast out the spirits with his word and healed all that were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Himself took our infirmities and bare our sicknesses. So when Jesus was doing the healing and casting out devils, healed the sick, that happened. In other words, we're supposed to believe on that because it was talked about in the Old Testament. That's why we're supposed to believe it. But if it's not, then what? Now, people will say this is talking about Isaiah 53, and we need to deal with Isaiah 53, and we're going to deal with the whole chapter. Before we do that, I want to read one more verse in Matthew, and then we'll go to Isaiah. Matthew 12 and 18, it says, Behold, my servant, whom I have chosen. This is talking about Jesus. In the New Testament, it's saying it's Jesus. Behold, my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him, and he shall show judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not strive nor cry, neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed shall he not break, and smoking flax shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment unto victory. And in his name shall the Gentiles trust. So this is also a prophecy. But before we go to Isaiah 53, I want to go first to Isaiah 42, because to understand what Isaiah 53 is talking about, we need to understand how Isaiah writes. And if you don't understand how to read Isaiah, the other passages on Isaiah besides Isaiah 53, you could believe Matthew that it's talking about Christ. But if you read all of Isaiah and you read the other stuff around Isaiah 53, you'll see exactly what it's talking about. So we're going to start with Isaiah 42, and we're going to go into Isaiah 53, and we're going to get a better understanding of what it's talking about that way. Isaiah 42, because Isaiah 42 is the one from Matthew 12 and 18. Behold, my servant whom I have chosen, my beloved. Let's deal with that first. Verse 1, Isaiah 42. Behold, my servant whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. That's what we read, right? So if you take this by itself, and somebody tells you that's talking about Jesus, that could make sense. Unless you keep reading. He shall not cry nor lift up nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. See, Jesus, when he was taken, he didn't say a word. They just took him and he was quiet. Let's see if that's actually what it's talking about. Because it's saying he, right? That's what we got to pay attention to. In Isaiah, when it's saying he, it's not always talking about an individual. And remember what it said, behold my servant, right? Mine elect. You should know from the pattern what this is going to talk about from the way the enemy has been perpetrating this idea so far in the New Testament. Let's see if it's the same old story, if it's the same old plot. Thus saith the Most High, this is verse 5. He that created the heavens and stretched them out, and has spread forth the earth, and that which cometh out of it. He that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein. I, the Most High, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine hand, and will keep thee, and will give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light to the Gentiles. We read that up in verse 1, right? This is the servant. The servant is going to be a light to the Gentiles, right? Behold my servant. I am the Most High. That is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. And we'll deal with that later, because the New Testament says he did give his glory to somebody else. And I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them, and not forsake them. They shall be turned back. They shall be greatly ashamed that trust in graven images, that say to the molten images, Ye are our gods. Why is he doing all of this? Why is he going through all of this? This is why. In verse 18 it says, Hear ye deaf, and look ye blind, that ye may see. Who is blind but my servant? Or deaf is my messenger that I sent? Now, I thought Jesus was the messenger that was sent. That's what Matthew said. Matthew just told us that this messenger was Christ. Christ was not blind. This servant is supposed to be blind. It said, Who is blind but my servant? And this can't be any other servant than the servant we talked about in verse 1. Who is blind but my servant? Or deaf as my messenger that I sent? And it says, Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant? Seeing many things, but thou observest not, opening the ears, but he heareth not. So this servant, he, still talking about a he like it's a person, right? This servant is blind and deaf. He opens his ears, but he doesn't hear. It says the Most High is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. Now, why is he talking about this is a people? Who is the this? He was just talking about the servant, wasn't he? And this servant is blind. This servant doesn't observe nothing. He doesn't hear when he's supposed to hear. This servant is what he's talking about when he says, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. Are we talking about an individual? He said this is a people. And this people is robbed and spoiled, and they are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith restore. So who is the Most High really talking about? All Israelites that I've heard go here to show this is talking about the children of Israel. See, Israelites are in prison all over the place, and this is a prophecy based on the condition, the oppressed condition that Israel's in. So we can see this is talking about the children of Israel, but the New Testament said is Jesus. Isaiah says it's Israel. Israelites who teach that this scripture talking about those that are robbed and spoiled are the children of Israel. You have to make a choice here to do one of two things. You need to stop teaching that that's talking about the children of Israel and say it's talking about Jesus, or you need to reject the New Testament. Those are your choices. Who among you will give ear to this, and who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? See how we're talking about Israel? We need to start letting the prophets explain themselves and not let the New Testament explain bits and pieces. Let the prophets finish their thought, and you'll see what they're talking about. This is talking about the children of Israel, and they will be a light to the Gentiles. But we should have known that anyway if we would have read the chapter before, Isaiah 41. And we need to keep in mind too, the original Hebrew text did not have chapter divisions. There wasn't chapter divisions like this in the original Hebrew. It ran together. So in Isaiah 41 and verse 8, it says, But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham my friend. Thou whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, Thou art my servant. I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away. When you went to Isaiah 42 verse 1, you should have known what it was talking about if you're reading in context.